what if the only way to save Bitcoin's financial revolution is to completely destroy the legendary engine it runs on?
I mean, it's a radical thought to start with.
Right. Just think about that for a second. Because you already know the landscape, you know what Bitcoin is, you know the players, and, well, you definitely know the tribalism that usually dominates this space.
Oh yeah, the tribalism it's intense.
It really is. But today, we are tossing all that tribalism right out the window. We are doing a deep dive into an architectural shift that is happening right under the surface of the industry.
Yeah, and it's a shift a lot of people are missing.
Exactly. So this insight was brought to light by Bruce Stewart in a really fascinating piece for the Metallicus community. It was published on March 27th, 2026, and it's focused on this mechanism called BitcoinVM.
Right. The virtual machine aspect.
Yeah, and our mission today is to explore how the industry is trying to extract the absolute best part of Bitcoin, like its trustless, bulletproof scarcity model, while ruthlessly swapping out the underlying infrastructure.
Making it actually ready for Wall Street.
Wall Street, high-frequency execution, compliant banking, all of it. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Well, it is a radical premise, like you said, because it forces us to confront the foundational trade-offs made on day one of the Bitcoin network.
Right.
To understand the momentum behind Bitcoin VM today, we can't just look at the tech in a vacuum. We really have to examine the paradox of the original design.
The paradox being how it was built to be untouchable.
Exactly. I mean, we all understand that the base layer of Bitcoin was a massive triumph. It solved the double spend problem. It created decentralized scarcity. But the architects made a highly deliberate, really restrictive choice regarding its scripting language.
Right. They essentially crippled its ability to run complex logic on purpose. The scripting language is not Turing complete.
No, not at all.
You can't just easily build a massive looping smart contract directly on Bitcoin's base layer like you can on, say, Ethereum or Solana.
Right, you just can't.
But let me challenge a premise here right out of the gate, because Bitcoin maximalists would argue that this isn't a flaw, like it is the entire point.
Oh, absolutely. They see it as a feature.
Yeah. It's like a digital Fort Knox. I mean, Fort Knox is impenetrable, but you wouldn't take a vault door to Starbucks to buy a coffee, right?
That's a great way to put it.
So if you don't have complex execution, you don't have complex hacks. If Bitcoin is so revolutionary, why is its lack of execution seen as a limitation all of a sudden?
Well, because the market has evolved past simply holding an asset in cold storage. What you just described with Fort Knox, that's the brilliant ceiling of Bitcoin.
The brilliant ceiling.
Yeah. The design absolutely maximizes security. But as global financial institutions started looking at this technology, they realized something. They wanted the unassailable accounting logic of Bitcoin, but they needed to actually, use it.
Right, they need to put it to work.
Exactly. They need to execute multi-party derivative contracts, tokenize real-world assets, build sophisticated, decentralized finance apps.
And Bitcoin just wasn't built for that.
No. When you try to force that kind of heavy, complex execution onto a network designed solely to be a secure, slow-moving ledger, the infrastructure just chokes. The ceiling becomes a bottleneck.
So if you attempt to upgrade the base layer to allow for that complex execution, you risk breaking the very security model that makes it valuable in the first place.
Precisely. You introduce the exact vulnerabilities the original architects were trying to avoid.
Which is kind of the impasse the industry has sat at for years, right?
Yeah, exactly. How do you scale the utility of the network without compromising the integrity of its core logic? And this is where Stewart's analysis comes in.
Enter BitcoinVM.
Right. He introduces BitcoinVM not as a competitor and definitely not as a replacement for Bitcoin, but as a completely decoupled extension.
Oh, an extension.
Yeah, it extracts the cognitive logic of Bitcoin, its brain, so to speak, and transplants it onto an entirely modern high-performance body.
A brain transplant. I love that. Let's dig into that brain for a second, because when Stewart talks about preserving Bitcoin's logic, he's specifically pointing to its UTXO architecture.
Right, the unspent transaction output model.
Yeah. And for anyone who has spent time in the crypto trenches, there is a massive philosophical divide between the UTXO model of Bitcoin and the account-based model used by networks like Ethereum.
Oh, it's a huge debate.
It really is.
Yeah.
But why is keeping the UTXO model so critical for this new institutional push?
Well, it comes down to determinism and predictability. Let's look at how the two models actually function under the hood.
Okay.
The account-based model, which most smart contract platforms use, is highly centralized in its state management. It acts almost like a central banker, constantly updating a single, massive master ledger.
Like a giant global spreadsheet.
Exactly. If you and I transact, the network has to read the global state, check my balance, deduct from me, add to you, and update the whole state. Because everything is heavily intertwined, transaction ordering becomes a chaotic, highly contested bidding war.
Which is exactly what leads to those MEV exploits, right? Maximal extractable value.
Yes, exactly. MEV exploits and complex smart contract vulnerabilities all stem from that.
It's a chaotic environment because everyone is trying to squeeze through the exact same door at the exact same time to update that one ledger.
Right. Now compare that to Bitcoin's UTXO model. UTXOs are entirely stateless relative to the rest of the network.
How so?
Imagine handing someone physical cash, but instead of loose bills, the cash is held in sealed, cryptographically verifiable envelopes containing exact amounts.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
If I want to send you value, I don't need to check a master ledger or worry about what anyone else on the network is doing. I simply unlock my specific envelopes, destroy them, and create brand new sealed envelopes addressed to you.
Oh, wow. Which means transactions can be processed in parallel.
Exactly.
Because if my envelopes have nothing to do with your envelopes, the network doesn't have to sequence us. We aren't fighting for the same sliver of global state.
That is the magic of UTXO. It is highly predictable, it is parallelizable, and it is significantly less prone to those cascading accounting errors or MEV extraction we see on account-based networks.
So that predictable, unassailable accounting behavior, that is the brain of Bitcoin.
Yes. Institutions absolutely love the UTXO model because it provides the mathematical certainty and auditability they actually require for regulatory compliance.
Right. But, and here's the catch, those same institutions can't wait 10 minutes to an hour for a transaction to clear.
No, they definitely can't.
Which brings us to the body transplant. Stewart points out that BitcoinVM takes this exact UTXO brain and runs it on the metal blockchain.
Yep.
And the mechanism driving this new body is something called Snowman consensus. Now, traditional Bitcoin relies on Nakamoto consensus, right? Miners solving brute force cryptographic puzzles.
Right. Massive energy consumption.
Exactly. So how does Snowman consensus physically operate differently to achieve this speed?
Well, Nakamoto consensus relies on a longest chain rule, which inherently creates probabilistic finality.
Probabilistic meaning like it's not instantly guaranteed?
Right. Because miners are competing independently, two miners might solve a block at the exact same time. The network temporarily forks, and you just have to wait for subsequent blocks to be built to see which chain becomes the longest.
No, so that is why you always hear you need to wait for 6 confirmations.
Exactly. You're waiting for mathematical probability to approach near certainty. It takes time. Snowman consensus, which is a variation of an avalanche-style protocol, a directed acyclic graph, or DAGI, throws that entire concept out.
Wow. So no miners solving math puzzles in isolation.
None at all. Instead of a linear chain of blocks where everyone competes, Snowman relies on a network of validators that rapidly gossip with each other.
Gossip, like they just talk to each other.
Yeah. Imagine a massive stadium filled with thousands of people trying to agree on whether a coin landed on heads or tails. Instead of one person shouting the answer and hoping everyone agrees, each person turns to 5 random neighbors and asks what they saw. Then they adopt the majority opinion of those 5. Then they do it again and again, rapidly. Within a fraction of a second, this subsampled voting mechanism cascades through the entire stadium, reaching a mathematically provable tipping point.
So the network reaches consensus cooperatively rather than competitively.
Exactly. And the result is fast, deterministic finality. Once the stadium reaches that tipping point, the transaction is finalized, instantly and irreversibly.
No probability.
None. There are no chain reorganizations. You have the exact bulletproof UTXO logic of Bitcoin, but it settles with mathematical certainty in a matter of milliseconds. What's fascinating here is that you get the exact feel of Bitcoin, but on modern rails.
Okay, but hold on. This brings up the most controversial aspect of this entire shift, and I know exactly what the traditionalists listening are screaming at their devices right now.
Let's hear it.
To achieve that gossip protocol consensus, BitcoinVM entirely eliminates proof-of-work mining. It relies purely on validator-based security, meaning participants secure the network by staking value.
Yes, that's correct.
If you strip away the energy-intensive proof-of-work, aren't you essentially tearing down the primary defense mechanism of the asset? I mean, Marxists would argue that the massive physical energy expenditure is the security.
Right, they absolutely do.
If we move to a system where whoever has the most capital gets to validate the network, aren't we just recreating the exact same elite banking oligarchy that Bitcoin was literally invented to destroy?
Right. That is the most common and potent critique of any system moving away from proof of work. The argument is that proof of stake or validator models inherently favor the wealthy, creating a plutocracy.
Right.
But we have to look at the specific problem BitcoinVM is being deployed to solve. It's not trying to replace the geopolitical, macroeconomic role of base layer Bitcoin as a stateless reserve asset.
Okay, so it's not replacing it.
No. It is functioning as an execution layer for modern finance. And modern global finance operates under strict mandates that base layer Bitcoin fundamentally violates.
You are talking about the ESG mandates, environmental, social, and governance compliance.
Yes. For years, the massive carbon footprint and energy consumption of proof-of-work mining has been a hard red line for major institutional capital.
They just can't touch it.
They can. Asset managers, sovereign wealth funds, massive pension funds, they have strict internal and regulatory directives that prevent them from interacting with networks that consume the energy equivalent of a small nation.
Wow.
So by utilizing validator-based security, BitcoinVM bypasses the energy debate entirely. It reduces the environmental footprint to near zero while still maintaining that cryptographic integrity.
It creates a sanitized, compliant environment. But let's push into the real-world application here, because we have this blazing, fast, energy-efficient UTXO-based network. So what does this all mean for the listener? Like, who actually cares?
A lot of big players care.
But if standard Bitcoin holders are perfectly content to buy their sats, sweep them into cold storage, and not touch them for 10 years, why does a sub-second deterministic settlement time even matter?
It matters because the blockchain industry is exiting its experimental phase and entering infrastructure maturity. As Stewart highlights in the piece, the demand is no longer just coming from retail investors hoarding a digital commodity.
Right.
The demand is coming from the traditional financial sector looking to upgrade their plumbing. They don't want to just hold Bitcoin. They want to utilize the architecture to issue their own financial products.
Okay, so give me a concrete example. What does this programmable utility actually look like for an institution using BitcoinVM?
Consider a multinational bank looking to issue a highly complex tokenized corporate bond.
Okay.
They want the accounting logic to be as pristine and secure as Bitcoin's UTXO model to prevent any double counting or settlement errors. But this bond requires complex logic. It has to automatically distribute yield payments, it has compliance restrictions on who can hold it, and it must settle instantly across global jurisdictions.
And they obviously cannot build that on base layer Bitcoin.
Right. Scripting language won't allow it, and the 1-hour probabilistic finality is a total non-starter for high-frequency trading desks that need to move millions of dollars in seconds.
And they don't want to build it on an account-based network like Ethereum because the MEV bots and that shared global state we talked about introduce way too much accounting risk.
Exactly. But with BitcoinVM, that bank can deploy their tokenized bond within an environment that uses the trusted, predictable UTXO blueprint, but executes at broadband speeds and meets their ESG and compliance requirements.
Wow.
It unlocks the design philosophy of Bitcoin for the entire regulated banking ecosystem.
Which fundamentally changes how we think about the architecture of crypto as a whole. And, this is a massive point in the source material. We're moving away from the era of monolithic blockchains.
Oh, thankfully.
Yeah, for the listener who has suffered through the tribal block size wars over the years, the monolithic philosophy was this idea that a single network had to do everything. It had to provide base layer security, handle consensus, and execute every single smart contract all on one congested highway.
Right. The monolithic approach is akin to trying to run the entire global economy through a single, unlaned toll booth.
What a nightmare.
It is. You have someone trying to buy a cup of coffee competing for block space with $1 billion hedge fund trying to settle a complex derivative. When network traffic spikes, the entire system chokes and transaction fees become astronomical.
Which is why the industry is shifting toward modular, purpose-built infrastructure. But how does Metal blockchain actually facilitate this modularity? I mean, it's not just hosting BitcoinVM in a vacuum, right? Like, think about your smartphone.
Oh, exactly.
Instead of one app trying to do everything, the Metal blockchain is like the operating system, and BitcoinVM is just a highly specialized app running perfectly on it.
That's a perfect analogy. If we connect this to the bigger picture, The metal blockchain acts as a universal foundational operating system. Its primary innovation is its ability to host multiple, entirely distinct virtual machines or execution environments coexisting simultaneously on the same underlying network.
That's incredible.
Yeah, BitcoinVM is just one highly specialized, purpose-built lane on this massive new highway.
So it's not a zero-sum game anymore. If an institution needs the stateless predictability of UTXOs for a settlement product, they just use the BitcoinVM environment on Metal.
Right.
But if another team is building a decentralized social media protocol that absolutely requires an account-based global state, they don't have to fight the UTXO crowd.
No, they don't.
They can just spin up an Ethereum virtual machine environment running right alongside it on the exact same Metal blockchain infrastructure.
Exactly. And what's truly powerful is that because these specialized environments share the same underlying consensus layer, they can interoperate seamlessly.
Oh, so no bridges.
Right. You don't need clunky, vulnerable third-party bridges to move value between the UTXO logic and the EVM logic.
Yeah.
The future of finance, as Stewart compellingly outlines, isn't going to be dominated by one monolithic chain that forces everyone to adapt to its specific bottlenecks.
Right.
The future is modular. It is a web of interoperable systems designed from the ground up to handle specific institutional outcomes.
So BitcoinVM isn't trying to defeat the original Bitcoin network, and it isn't trying to compete with Ethereum. It is simply extracting a historically proven design philosophy, modernizing its engine, and dropping it onto the institutional rails of tomorrow.
Well said.
It just completely bypasses the toxic tribalism of the past decade.
It is an incredibly pragmatic evolution, and that is exactly why you should be paying close attention to this shift. If you want to understand how the actual plumbing of global finance is being rebuilt, you have to look past the retail noise and the endless debates over token prices.
Yeah, absolutely.
The true evolution of the space isn't about replacing the old paradigms with completely untested theoretical new ones.
Right. It's about decoupling the brilliant logic from the outdated machinery, taking what works like the bulletproof scarcity, the deterministic UTXO accounting, and giving it a compliant, ultra-fast, new engine.
Exactly.
It is infrastructure finally maturing to meet reality. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It is always fascinating to look under the hood and see how these complex mechanisms are quietly laying the groundwork for the next era of money.
It really is a critical transition period. But I want to leave you with a final thought to consider as you digest everything we've covered today.
Let's hear it.
It's a question that naturally arises from Stewart's analysis of this whole decoupling.
Okay.
If Bitcoin's brilliant UTXO logic and its universally trusted scarcity model can be entirely separated from its slow, energy-heavy mining process.
Right.
And if that pristine architectural blueprint can simply be dropped into any modern, interoperable, compliant network,
Yeah.
what eventually happens to the intrinsic value of the original Bitcoin base layer?
Yeah.
Does the abstract open source blueprint ultimately become more valuable and heavily utilized than the original building itself?